Well, hello there. Welcome to my self-retreat. Got lots of time to think, got lots of time to do yoga and meditate and cook my own food, which is pretty nice. Not necessarily what I wanted to do, but like many of us, perhaps all of us to some extent, we have to do what we have to do. And it's kind of like our lives have turned into something like a meditation retreat. For those of you who haven't been on a retreat, it's a time to be quiet, to be more by yourself, to reflect, to spend time slowing down, being aware of what you do with your body, the decisions that you make, being careful of your speech, not always being perfectly silent, but being careful of what you say and when you say it, and watching your mind, how your mind reacts to the stimuli you have at your 5 physical senses. So what really different is our life at the moment to that being on retreat, other than, yes, we have certain freedoms that we can do, We have access to the internet, we can go on Facebook, Instagram, we can do things that we want to do, we can call friends, we can watch TV. Although I don't think you want to really be doing that at the moment. And so really what we've got is time to look at ourselves, look at our life, which for many people is very scary because we really live a very fast life. Doesn't matter who you are, especially if you have kids. You're really busy looking after your kids, and if you've got a job, sometimes maybe 2 jobs, you're really busy with your work. When you're not busy with that, you're busy relaxing and trying to squeeze in all the lovely little things that you'd like to do with your life. So we're all really busy, but now we're suddenly becoming not quite so busy, and for some people really almost like hitting a brick wall. So this is kind of what it's like to be on a retreat. You organize your life so that you can go on retreat, but once you get on retreat, it's really like coming to a sudden stop and really just being with yourself. And what we find sometimes is not what we want to find. We'd like to think that we can be by ourselves and be all peaceful and lovely and, have a lovely time, maybe do a spot of gardening or, catch up on those little things that we haven't had time for. Or more specifically is finding the mental states that perhaps we are actually really quite tired is one thing that most people will find, that they sleep a lot. Sometimes it's avoidance, sometimes it's just the fact that you really have lived on your excess energy. I mean, overused your energy and then even used more energy than you really had, and living on nervous or stressed energy, and that when you take time to stop, that you almost collapse. Many people would be actually experiencing this, especially those people who have been put out of work. They're going to find that life is really, first of all, maybe boring, but also that they are really, really very tired. And another thing is that you could be finding out that you're really stressed, that you're really worried about your life, about the people around you, about how you're going to pay bills. And there's fear also. Fear about the future, fear of the unknown, even fear of this virus. Like, am I going to get it? What happens if I get it? Who can I trust? So many things that we can be afraid of. So this also creates a lot of confusion. So we're all dealing with a lot of emotions that, yeah, it'd be nice if, you stopped work and you had enough income or money to just have a nice little holiday at home and, do a spot of gardening and, check your Facebook and catch up on things you haven't done. But it's probably not really like that, that you're probably finding a lot of stress and confusion and fear and worry. So instead of trying to stop those things from happening because they're already happening, we start to acknowledge them. And this is what mindfulness is. This is what I've been practicing for nearly 30 years and what I've been sharing with people. People tend to think that they only come to meditation or mindfulness when they have problems, which is what's happening now. It would have been good to do what I did a long time ago, and that is go to this when I didn't have any problems so that I could understand the nature of life, which then means that when problems do arise, I know what to do with them. So it's not just about mindfulness, but it's about learning from your experiencing. It's about the wisdom that arises and then using that wisdom in your life for times like these when you can actually remind yourself, what is the right course of practice? What is the right thing to do? So one thing that we really need to learn is firstly acceptance. And acceptance will actually calm you down. So if you're feeling really stressed, you could even just say to yourself, oh, I am really stressed. This is stress. And just feel it in your body. So don't try to stop it. Don't try to change it. Don't try to solve all the problems of your family and your health and the world and everything else. Just say to yourself, oh, this is stress. Call it by its name and allow it to be present. Just close your eyes and say, stress. Feel it. Experience it. Why would we be doing this? Because it's already happening. This mindfulness practice is not about hunting down something that we are not having and then trying to work with it. It's not about having something in the present and trying to get rid of it so that we can be in another state of mind. It's about what is happening now, being totally aware, but also acknowledging, being honest with yourself, accepting what is happening. And what you will find is that even if you just call it by its name, stress, and you feel what's it doing in the body. Is your breath affected? Is your heartbeat affected? Are you wearing your shoulders as earrings? Is your face all tensed up? How do you feel stress in your body? And just allow that to soften. Allow yourself to be stressed. It's really okay. It is a normal response in this situation. How else would you be reacting? Perhaps you find yourself worrying, repeating the same story over and over again. How am I going to get money to pay the rent, to do this, to do that, to do? Identify the mental state that you're experiencing now, because this is a normal response to the information that you've received through your senses. Worrying. Oh, that's what's happening. I'm worrying. Worrying. How does it feel in the body? What does it look like in the mind? Is it like a busy intersection in the middle of the city with cars and people and some kind of chaos? Pandemonia from a pandemic? Feel it. Accept it. This is worry. Allow yourself to be worried. Don't worry about worrying, because that's just doubling your suffering and it's really unnecessary. Accept it. I'm worrying. This is not saying worrying is good or worrying is bad, or it doesn't mean continue worrying and keep worrying. But it certainly doesn't mean stop worrying and get rid of worrying, because that's not what I'm saying either. Call it by its name. However you feel now, can you actually give it a one-word name or label? Perhaps you just feel confused. And again, this is a perfectly normal human response to this situation. Confused. Confusion. How does it feel in the body? And what's going on in the mind? It's really interesting that when you know that you're confused, and you may even say to yourself, confused, confused, confused. What happens is, normally when you're confused, you're having so many thoughts, but when you say to yourself, I'm just confused, I'm confused, 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 you're only having one experience now. Well, let's say two. There's the confusion, but then there's the awareness and the labeling of the confusion. Guess what? You're not confused. And for just a little while, the mind will be somewhat calm, somewhat clear. And now when your mind's clear, go back and think about what you need to think about. Was it really important anyway? Quite often what we find is that it wasn't really worth worrying about, or I've already tried to think this through like 100 times, 1,000 times already, and I didn't get a result from my thoughts. Then thinking about it is not going to solve it. But sometimes, quite miraculously, what happens is that once you acknowledge what you're really experiencing, that is coming back to the pure present moment, this is just confusion. I am confused. Drop the I am and just say confused, confusion, confusion, confusion. Feel it. If you like, own it. Label it. Experience it. What does confusion feel like? Give it a hug. Say g'day to it. Hello, g'day, confusion. Nice to see you again. Maybe it's not, but acknowledge it. Feel it. Allow it to be present. Your whole mental state will change. Now, think about what you really need to think about. Is there a specific problem? Is there a specific point that you need to clarify? And what about fear? We've all got fear at the moment. We're afraid of the future. We're afraid of the unknown. All fear is a fear of the unknown. We don't know what's going to happen. And that is so true. Fear, fear, fear. Afraid, afraid. Just acknowledging, yes, I am afraid. This is fear. How does it feel in the body? What's going on in the mind? I can tell you what's going on in the mind. There are thoughts, usually too many. This way, that way, not knowing what to do. Another little technique that I share everywhere I go, when you find too many thoughts in your mind, is just say to yourself, thinking, 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 thinking. Just being aware of the thinking itself, not the content of the thought. Don't say work, work, or, partner, partner, or, food, food, whatever it is that you're concerned about, money, money. Just a generic, general label, thinking, 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 thinking. Imagining, 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 imagining. Worrying, worrying, worrying. And what you might realize is that that's all that's happening. It's a thought. True. It's an imagination. It's happening in my mind. Yes, it may be happening out there in the world. I'm not saying that. This is not a denial practice. But what is happening is that you're imagining some scenario, some worst case scenario. Something's going to go wrong. Something's going to be bad. Maybe it will be. Maybe it won't be. Miracles also happen every day in your life, believe it or not. Thinking, thinking, imagining, imagining, worrying, worrying. How do I feel in the body? What's going on in the mind? Notice how the mind changes. It doesn't mean that you're actually getting answers to your questions. You're not necessarily solving your problems. All you're doing is acknowledging what is really happening in the present moment. But by doing that, by that clarifying of the mind, you start to see things more clearly, and you can start to direct your attention more intentionally towards what you really need to think about. What is really important in this moment? And if you can't think of anything that you really need to think about, which is kind of a weird experience, then say to yourself, may I be safe, peaceful, healthy, and strong. And may my partner be safe, peaceful, healthy, and strong. May my mum and dad be safe, peaceful, healthy, and strong. May all my fellow students, colleagues, friends, whoever, my family, may we all be safe, peaceful, and healthy and strong. What a beautiful thought to start uploading to your mind rather than being rampaged by thoughts that you've had 1,000 times that come to naught, that come to nothing. We need to learn how to work with our minds. Each one of us, whether you're a child or a student, whether you're middle-aged and working, a parent, or whether you're old, elderly, and in the twilight years of your life. Learn how to observe your mind, to acknowledge gently, gracefully, what is really happening in your mind, being 100% honest, accepting what's going on in the mind, allowing it to be present, feeling into it. By the time you've done that, the mind has already changed. Now, what do you want to do with your mind? This makes perfect sense to me. I hope this really makes sense to you. I hope it helps you through this very difficult time. And I have a lot more to share, but for now, this will be enough. Little message on how to be with your mind as it really is. I hope you are safe, peaceful and healthy and strong, just as I really am. And may we all be mindful of how we feel in our bodies and in our minds. May we learn how our minds work so that then we can create the mind that we want to have, which will create the life that we want to have, which will create the society and the world that we want to have. We are given this opportunity now to change, to live a different way of life. It's up to you. It's always been up to you. But now the world is making us do this. So make the most of this opportunity and do it with love. And have yourself a beautiful day. Thanks for listening.